Okay, so now we're going to look at what I call the Buzz Lightyear section, limits to infinity of rational functions. We're only going to go to infinity. Buzz obviously likes to go to infinity and beyond. So if f of x is a rational function, in other words it's made up of a fraction, then the limit to infinity of that function is the limit to infinity of the dominant term of g of x over the dominant term of h of x. So this saves you having to draw the graph completely. It should make your life an awful lot easier. And it only works as the limit to infinity. And that's because as something or x gets really, really, really big, it's only the dominant part that really makes a difference. In this case, the +4 and the +1 are just going to be insignificant. In fact, so is the 3x and the 2x. So if we take a look at this first example, then the dominant part of the numerator is 2x squared. The dominant part of the denominator is x squared. So we're actually looking at the limit as x tends to infinity of 2x squared over x squared, which of course is just 2. So that's saying as x carries on way into the distance, okay, that graph is going to taper off at 2. Now you know it never ever gets to 2, but it gets pretty close. Let's do the same with the next question. So this time the dominant part on the top line is negative 3x, and the dominant part of the denominator is x squared. Again, you can cancel your x's, so you end up with minus 3 over x. And as x gets to infinity, if you're dividing anything by infinity, imagine taking a chocolate cake and dividing it amongst millions and billions of people, pretty much everybody ends up with nothing. So this graph, as you can see from the sketch, is going to end up pretty much touching the x-axis, but it never does exactly. Looking at the final example on this page, we can see that the dominant part of the numerator is 5x squared. The dominant part of the denominator is x, and when we simplify that we end up with 5x, and as 5x tends to infinity, the limit is infinity, but that means it actually doesn't exist. So we don't talk about the fact that the graph is going to head off to infinity. What we talk about, the fact is that it doesn't exist, it's gone. Okay, so we want to say that the limit does not exist. Infinity is not a limit.